Reading should not be presented to children as a chore or duty. It should be offered as a precious gift. Katie DiCamillo.
You're listening to Writing Roots, brought to you by Aspen House Publishing.
Welcome to Writing Roots. I'm Lee Hull.
And I'm Lee Esses.
Today we are talking about writing for and marketing to children. Mostly, we are going to be talking about not chapter books, the illustrated books, the fun sing-song books, the ones that are for actual little children.
This is not generally most of our audience who listens to us, but we do have a lot of people who have been asking this question in person lately. So I figured we would cover it, and if this is your first episode listening to Writing Roots, welcome to the fold. So our first thing to consider when talking about marketing children's books is the who. And I feel like this is where a lot of people kind of fall flat because they're marketing to actual children who don't have bank accounts. They aren't the ones purchasing the thing.
So while you are writing for the child, you need to market to the parents.
Or the grandparents. When you are picking out the target age that your Facebook ad will be pointing at, if you're attempting to send it to as young as possible, that's not going to do you any good. If you are looking to send it to 55 to 65, that's going to be the I'm just becoming a grandparent and I'm super excited about and I want to get them books age range.
You're also going to want to look at marketing to your educators, especially your early educators, preschool, kindergarten teachers, first grade, or the people who know them, the people who are in control of getting books into libraries at school, the people who are organizing a Scholastic book fair kind of event, or you're going to contact the Sunday school teachers, people who have contact with young children who are in part in charge of educating them in some way.
So what you want for your cover is it to be mostly black and grungy and dark, and the font is really difficult to read.
No, but it is going to pain me to say this. This is a perfectly reasonable time to use Comic Sans in your cover because it is a font for children. So while you market to the parents, you want your cover to be bright and interesting for the children. What you want is for the kids to be so excited about reading it that they're going to grab it and take it to their parents and be like, read this with me, read this with me. So you want a bright cover. You want solid, clear lines. You want colorful, interesting images.
As far as the inside of the book, the content, having a simple moral to the story will help you connect with the parents and grandparents who are trying to make sure that their kid falls in love with reading. The kid doesn't actually care about the moral of the story. That part tends to be more aimed at the people who understand morals in any capacity. But if you don't have that in there, no matter how much the kid likes it, the grown-ups aren't going to as much. Simply because they want there to be something worthwhile in the story. Even if the moral is just listen to your parents, be happy every day, that kind of thing.
You can also have something that just simply teaches a skill. Mine and my sister's favorite book when we were growing up was Counting Tiny Dinos. And it was all about just learning how to count to 10 using tiny dinos that were adorable.
It was a Cookie Monster book for me that was It's No Fun to Be Sick.
Yeah, so there's all sorts of quote-unquote morals that are included. It usually has some sort of something to teach the kids. If you can have a lot of humor in your story, there is less need or desire for something that teaches a lesson. Sometimes you can just have a fun, simple, funny story. And sometimes the humor is specifically for the parents, in the case of a book like Go the F to Sleep. As for when you're going to publish these books, the summertime is a good opportunity for you to publish because that's about when the librarians, when the teachers are collecting, looking up, finding books to include in their next year's collection.
If you are looking to promote your book by being there in person and reading it to the kids, summer is also great because parents are trying to get their kids to keep with that learning mindset throughout the summer, even though they're on vacation. So they're bringing them to the library and trying to continue to promote that. So if you go to the local library and go, hey, I've got a children's book, you have children's story time every Saturday evening, then you can connect with your target audience in a eye-to-eye way that's really great.
And of course, winter is also going to be a good opportunity around those holidays where people are giving each other gifts. Children's books are a great Christmas or birthday gift for the right kind of people, people who are interested in sharing stories and sharing reading time with their kids.
So where do I look to sell my children's book?
In person is going to be a very good resource because you can connect with the parents, you can connect with the grandparents, and give them a one-on-one, in-person reason why to buy your book. And a lot of the times, people can be hesitant about what sort of information, what sort of stories they're going to share with their children. So being able to meet you in person is going to make a big difference in getting a good read on whether or not they actually want to share that information with their kids.
If you're looking for people to get involved with, especially if you want to have kids reading your book and giving feedback about it, homeschool groups tend to be a great place to start and get your feet wet when it comes to marketing your book. Because if one kid likes this book, then they're telling mom, who's telling their friend who's also a mom, then all of the siblings of all of the kids, they all start to snowball very quickly. And interest can build. It can be a fad amongst these younglings in order to get enthusiasm for the books.
Libraries are also going to be a gold mine for you. Get your books into libraries, not just public libraries, but school libraries and little libraries, anything where you can get those books into the hands of kids for free. Because parents usually don't have a lot of extra money. They will buy what they can. And if they find your book at a library and their child falls in love with it, then they're going to spend their money on getting a book so that that kid can have that book that they absolutely love.
This next place to look is only for certain types of children's books, and that would be churches. A lot of the Sunday schools and these kind of things, especially if you're leaning into the moral of the story, having Noah and the ark, and you've got all of these animals climbing onto the ark, then it's cute, it's fun. Maybe not the genocide part, but the rainbows are pretty. If your children's book applies for whatever your faith base is, consider reaching out to the church that you attend as well.
And of course, your in-person school events, school talks, assemblies, whatever, that is also going to be a very good resource. Because then they can go home, they can talk about this cool, interesting story that they heard from the actual author themselves and tell their parents. Those are the kind of events that you're going to want to look for.
Online is going to be a lot more difficult for you to advertise. Not only is it hyper saturated with a lot of people who are writing children's books and trying to also market their books, but anything online can be seen as creepy. Just because of the stigma of online-ness, especially with grandparents.
You will want to have your own website so you can have examples of the artwork that's included, so you can have little excerpts of the writing, so that parents can look and vet and see your whole profile as an author and understand what kind of person you are. And I think one of the reasons why online selling for children's books is so difficult is because parents often want to read the whole book before they read it to their child, which is really easy to do in person because children's books are like, maybe 20 pages long with 10 words a page? So they can quickly flick through it and see all of the contents. They can get the gist of the whole story, which is impossible to do online without buying the book first.
Yeah, ebooks are not going to do well. The last place online that you might consider getting involved is YouTube, because there's a whole YouTube Kids section where your stuff is going to be safe. If you have one of those great energetic reading out loud styles, you can have little YouTube shorts of you reading the book and showing the words on camera as you're reading it in a cutesy voice. So the kids can stumble across you in a way that is safe for the parents.
As for the why are people buying children's books? It's largely about the lesson. Of course, this is dependent on the kind of children's book. But for most of history, parents have been using stories to teach lessons to their kids in ways that are understandable and digestible for those kids. So these stories can help kids learn how to name their emotions, figure out what they're feeling. They can teach them about theological figures or how to be confident, or simply how to read.
This is why Dr. Seuss is really popular, because it's more or less nonsense words, but there's the repetition of the sounds, there's a little bit of the story with the Lorax and this and that, but it's mostly just fun because of the context of the story itself.
The simple act of reading helps to broaden the mind. It helps kids learn how to navigate the world from an early age because it introduces them to other kinds of people. It introduces them to other kinds of ideas. It introduces them to the idea of learning. Those early books, especially, if you fall in love with them, you can remember them decades later. Like me, remembering that fairy tale book that I rebought in college because I absolutely loved it when my dad would read me those stories at night. And as children's authors, you have a great opportunity to introduce the same kind of love for story, the love for words, to children through your writing, which you can only do if you
write selfishly.
If you have a question or comment for our hosts or a topic you'd like us to cover, send us an email at writingroots@aspenhousepublishing.com or find us on Facebook by searching for Aspen House Publishing.